They had reached a point by the late 40s, early 50s. John Cage as a theorist, Robert Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns. They had reached a point of trying to help you get to see anything at all in your daily life as if it were sculpture. And often art like this seems deliberately ugly and challenging. I mean, when you look at these things that look like they found it out in the back of the supermarket, it's really, the art of this kind, this mystical art, should give you a first impression like, why? Like, what? That's not beautiful. But the point is that if you contemplate it long enough, and you start to see it as if it were square sculptures, if you could get to the point, I mean, grant me this, right? If you could get to the point where you could even see that as visually interesting, we're not claiming beautiful, but as visually interesting, then as you walked around during the day, you'd start to notice even the patterns in the sidewalk that you never saw before. Consciousness is not on or off. Consciousness is on a dimmer switch. That's the truth of mysticism. We come here and we start with the Richard Serra to get us out of the normal way of seeing things. So this was the point that they had come to. And not everybody's doing this, but this was the cutting edge stuff. This is the impulse of the famous art that's called avant-garde. And then Robert Rauschenberg decided, there's one more step. Maybe I'm going to make the final artwork in the history of art, since the hip avant-garde audience understands what to do. And that's, amazingly, in San Francisco, one of 3 in existence on that wall. Let's come over there. He was making everyday sculpture. And then he came here. The Rauschenberg went. When John Cage saw it, he understood immediately. He said, it's an airport for lights and shadows. First, it looks like nothing at all. There's no texture, there's nothing. But with the appropriate lighting, you see? And then the 3 panels, you start to see that black zip down the middle of it. And as your consciousness expands, you realize there's a black bar below it. And you're starting to see everything as art. The first times as you go through this, you'll feel almost a little silly because you'll say, oh, now I'm seeing this is art, and I'm looking at the pattern on the floor. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I'll tell you, when I first was getting into this, I really criticized myself because I started noticing all the colors and the textures of the people around me. But it wasn't in a sexual way, it was sensual. The patterns of their hair and the flush of the skin. Everything becomes art, which is another way of saying that you become more and more alive. Perhaps art is something we do, John Cage is submitting. Perhaps beauty is something we do, and in that case, let's do it more often. Now, you've already done 4 minutes and 33 seconds at school, and I'm giving you here, what I'm giving you here, I'm transmitting the Dharma to you. Whack. What Cage was doing was Zen. He was the guy who imported Zen to the United States using the art world. Be here now. And Zen says, well, Zen, all the mysticisms say, at the beginning of the Tao Te Ching, the Chinese version, anybody who tries to tell you about this in words doesn't really know. And anybody who really knows won't try to tell you about this with words. It seems snobby, but what they mean is you have to work on it. You have to practice experiences. Now, would the smaller people come towards the front? Let's make sure we have a clear path for people to walk. Let's make sure we have a clear path. Smaller people, ladies, come towards the front and even sit down. Sit down. I'm going to do 4 minutes and 33 seconds in honor of this painting, because this is the painting that inspired what is considered the end of art. So John Cage had brought Zen over to this country. Be here now, nothing special, be here today. And when he looked at this, and Rauschenberg said, I think it's the last artwork, Cage realized there was one final step. Rauschenberg, because he was a painter, was still stuck with an object, with canvas. Cage was a musician, and Cage didn't need anything. And he thought, maybe people don't need this stuff anymore. Maybe all these paintings have become a distraction, because you think that beauty is only found in a museum, and so you ignore it in your everyday life. Not beauty. The word they use is wonder. That strange feeling, wonder. So Cage created 4 minutes and 33 seconds in honor of this, looking at this, taking the final step. And that's what we're going to do. I mean, we have a fantastic opportunity here in front of the painting itself to do the end of art. This is the last artwork, but Cage ended art. He didn't end art, people still made it, but he ended the history of art in the West, at least since the time of John Constable and the Impressionists later. The idea that art is a training ground for seeing the world and how wonderful it is. He said, people don't need it anymore. The objects are in the way. So, in Woodstock, New York, in 1952, is an outdoor auditorium. And I mean, it's such a privilege to be able to talk about this in front of the painting itself. And Cage is outdoor auditorium. And Cage had his usual pianist, David Tudor, come out and sit down, take out his watch, open the keyboard, and then for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, David Tudor played nothing. And people were tricked into listening to the world around them because they saw the piano, they saw the pianist, and so they turned on their senses. And Cage was very lucky with that first performance because first they heard the wind stirring the leaves outside. Then in the second minute, the second movement as he liked to call it, they heard raindrops smattering against the leaves. And then in the third, they heard people scraping their chairs and being angry and saying, oh, come on, what's this Dada stuff? You know, Marcel Duchamp did this kind of junk, making fun of art, making fun of it. They weren't. They weren't. This was Zen. This was Zen. And so here, we're going to do 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Because one of the things about Zen is, it can't be told to you in words, you do it with experiences. And they say it's a special transmission outside the scriptures from master to master. I've meditated with John Cage and with David Anton and with Alan Kaprow. So I received the Dharma. And now, before I die, I want to give it to as many people as possible. There's only 2 of us left from the younger pop artist group, Jeff Kelly and me. And I feel this, you're going to get, I mean, like Cage's, you're going to be your grandfather after this. You're getting the real Dharma in front of the painting itself. Okay. When I start counting, let me make sure I get my glasses on for it. When I start counting, meditate on the painting. You think no thoughts. You do not close your eyes. We're up straight. And this is done after the 4 minutes, 33 seconds. I'm just telling our escort here. And that's entirely appropriate. We don't want to be in the way of people seeing the museum. Try to think no thoughts. It's very hard to do. But after we do this, you've got the dark. Ready? Anything that you hear is music. Anything that you hear is music. If somebody coughs, that's just percussion. There's no interruptions. As people walk past, their footsteps will become percussion. When they talk, what are they doing, or whatever it is, that's fine. That's fine. Be here now. All your senses. Feel the room. Feel the coldness of the floor. Just be alive. And stronger and stronger. And something strange. You don't just have to do it. It will recur on its own. I'll bet that within 72 hours, any number of you here will suddenly have, well, not suddenly, will have a strange experience. You'll be doing something which is normally boring or annoying, sitting waiting for your boyfriend to pick you up in front of a bus stop or something, in the mist blowing, or driving home, and yet you'll be oddly relaxed. You'll just be looking at mist in the streetlight. You won't be thinking anything. You'll be relaxed. You won't be annoyed. You won't be thinking of this. You'll even say to yourself something like, gee, I'm in a good mood today. Only later will you find yourself suddenly thinking, did it have something to do with that stupid thing we did at the museum where we sat on the floor? Or, yes, it did. It did. This stuff works. That's what's so weird about it. Broken boxes, and you wipe it, and yet it works. It starts to recur naturally, and it enriches your life. It enriches your life. Okay, very good.